Hey, everyone. All right, everybody's getting let in. Looks like there's a note taker there, guys. Um, Hi, everyone. Just give us a minute to let everybody into the meeting. A lot of people joining still. That's awesome. All right. We're just going to give it a minute or so longer. I'm Jim Gast. We'll give it a minute to let everybody join that wants to join. Okay, 62 people in. Yep. Okay. So I'll just give it just about 10 seconds more. Just bear with us for a minute. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Jim Gast, and thank you for joining me for Microsoft 365 for Nonprofits. Appreciate you joining me. A couple of quick housekeeping things. This will last 30 minutes. I'll go longer to answer questions. So if you want to hang on after I'm done with my presentation, that's great. I'll do Q&A at that point. Debbie is instructed to kind of grab a couple questions here and there, and she's my assistant here. She'll ask me a couple questions, just interrupt me and ask them. Debbie, try to get those in context as well. So, if we haven't moved on, that'd be great. And then, yeah, no problem. In addition to that, if you brought a note taker to the meeting, unfortunately, we can't allow our webinars to be recorded. The recording will be available afterwards. We usually like to get that out a few days after. You'll get an email inviting you to it, whether you were here or whether you were not. We'll invite you to get the recording. So, sorry if your note takers got bounced out. That's just a policy we have to follow. So, okay. It looks like there's a few other meeting note takers. Are you guys getting those note takers, Matthew and Jacob?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's get started. We're here to talk about Microsoft 365 Copilot for Nonprofits. And I really like this. And this first slide's actually pretty important. What I want you to realize is that this AI in particular is an assistant for you. So if you have an assistant, it's an assistant for your assistant if you want it to be. And so, and the reason I think this is so important is because it allows your nonprofit organization to get to your mission instead of worrying about the task that you have to do. All right. So it's a very important slide. It kind of sets the premise up. So who am I? I am Jim Gast, and I am a dad, a husband, a runner, dog dad. I think they own me, actually. I have 4. Don't ask. It's a long story, long question, long thing. I am now the director of business development at Vallejo Networks, and former president of SpliceNet. We just integrated with Vallejo Networks back in August. It's my contact information right there. So you'll get that a little bit later on, too. What I'd like to add is that everybody wants to know, well, what gives you the authority to really talk about this, and I want you to understand who I am and what I've done over the last 30 years. Quite honestly, I am a 30-year veteran of technology, cybersecurity, and now more recently, AI. I've spoke for, sorry, that's what you get, copy and paste, law firms. I have helped over 300 nonprofits in the last year. And so there's always some number there. How do I do that? Microsoft refers them to us, right? And so you don't get to be that status. And I'm sorry for the typos on this. Again, copy paste stuff. But you don't get to be that status where Microsoft refers nonprofit organizations to you unless you're something important, right? And so you do something different than everybody else. And so what do we do different? Well, I speak for Microsoft monthly. I've been doing that now for about 2 years. And are you guys seeing all those AIs? I think you should be. And so I speak for Microsoft on these webinars monthly. I got another one coming up next month. And so you probably registered for this from a Microsoft email that was sent to you because they want to get me out there speaking to people about Microsoft 365 Copilot. And so one of the more important things, I think, it's kind of like being on Forbes magazine for a guy like me, is that I'm quoted on the nonprofit site of Microsoft over TechSoup, I might add. You know, this is something they got from back in 2021, 2020, and I've been on there ever since. I'm pretty proud of that. That Microsoft thinks enough of what I know about nonprofits and their mission and how Microsoft technology fits into that that scenario. So that's who I am. That's why you should be listening to me. Today, we're going to talk about Microsoft 365 Copilot. By the way, I am not going to bore you to death with slides. I think I have maybe one or two more before we actually get, this might be one. I think I got another one before we actually get into my demonstrations, because that's what you're here for. When I talk about Copilot, I want you to understand that Microsoft 365 Copilot can be used in all your Office applications. It's an assistant to get your job done. I honestly use it to create these presentations over and over and over again. And I'll show you how I do that, and I'll cheat a little bit and pull the curtains back in a few minutes. But what I want you to understand is that, like any other AI, okay, it is answering and doing stuff with important confidential information that you may provide it. The difference between this and other AIs is that it is secure within your Microsoft 365. It is your AI engine. It's not anybody else's. It's yours within your Microsoft 365. It doesn't share the data out to the internet. So if you're working with your documents, if you're working with your meetings, or whatever it is you're working with Copilot, it's not sending it out to the internet. It is secure, and it's building that knowledge base and large language model for your organization and for you, and the documents and meetings and all the other stuff that you have access to. The Microsoft 365 Copilot doesn't read all of the Microsoft 365. It only reads the information that is accessible to the people that are licensed for it. And we'll get into the question of licensing a little bit later on. So things it can do, it works in your Word, so it can create documents for you. It creates PowerPoint spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets. It can create and help you analyze as well. So on and so on. I mean, it's tied into so many things in Microsoft 365, things that you probably don't even realize you have, like Planner and even OneNote and some other forms and stuff like that. So, you know, this is only going to cover some basic applications. This is like kind of 100 series, a 101 class. So you'll love this. What I think, though, probably to me, the most powerful thing about it being in business development and marketing is that it integrates with Microsoft Teams. Like, I'm recording this in this meeting right here, and I could later on and go back to this meeting and ask Copilot something about this meeting, what was said, what was presented, what you said, questions that were asked, and it would present that information back to me. And I use it all the time. So I never forget the details of a meeting ever again. And it's been invaluable. I'll show you how that works in a little while. Now, everybody says, well, I have Copilot. I have Microsoft Copilot. I got an icon for Copilot. I want you to understand something, that there is Microsoft Copilot and then there's Microsoft 365 Copilot, and they are different, okay? What Microsoft did, and it's a little confusing, so bear with me, is that if you have Microsoft 365, Microsoft included Microsoft Copilot in every license of Microsoft 365. That's not Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is different. That is like the free version of Microsoft Copilot that you would go out on the web, similar to a ChatGPT, but it is embedded in your Microsoft 365 applications. But it's not going to be as a productivity tool. I like to liken it to a research tool mostly, although it can do some other things. You're not going to be able to draw on your data in your Microsoft 365. And that's the fundamental difference between Microsoft Copilot, that would be in your icon, you see an icon for it, and Microsoft 365 Copilot. Microsoft 365 Copilot can draw on the data that you have access to in your Microsoft 365. So I always get the question, how can I tell the difference? How can I tell I've got it? It's simple. Really, honestly, if you didn't pay for it, you don't have it, okay? It's that simple. Microsoft 365 Copilot is an additional subscription above and beyond Microsoft 365. So, and you say, well, I don't really know. I don't control our subscriptions. And you have to ask your IT people if they gave it to you and they assigned a license to you. That's a kind of a test as to how you'll know. I'll show you in a little bit one other way that you can differentiate. But I do want you to know this. If you are using Microsoft Copilot, just like Microsoft 365 Copilot, in your Word applications, your Excel and all PowerPoint, Outlook, and all that stuff, again, the information you put into it is secure. It's not sending it out to the internet. All right? Enough on that. So let's go ahead and get started on the demonstration part because I think you guys will like it. I want to show you a document that I put together for all of these. I cheat, all right? I am scripted all the way. Why do I script? Because it's easier to do. And when it comes to demonstrating something like Copilot, I want reproducible results. And so I script it. This is what I call my prompt document. Now, you can create prompts and you can save prompts in a document if you want to, but I think after you learn how to work with Microsoft 365 Copilot, henceforth, I'm just going to call it Copilot, just so you know. All right, so don't get it confused with the other version. So if you have Microsoft Copilot and you want to learn about it and prompt it, you'll just learn how to talk to it and do better. So here's one of the examples I'm going to say. I'm going to create a nonprofit program for a food bank to provide healthy food alternatives to seniors. And I'm going to have it do a whole bunch of things that it says in this example right here. So where am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to pop over here to Microsoft Word, and I'm going to open up a new document. Now, I have this button up here, and I have this prompt right here, as you can see. All right. This button right here is available in all of the applications that Microsoft 365 Copilot is available in. And remember, this button could be confused with Microsoft Copilot. So again, you know, you'll be able to tell in a moment or two through one of the mechanisms I'm going to show you whether you can, if you have it or not. I'm sorry, that's very confusing. Microsoft hasn't really done a great job of it yet. What I like to say about this panel over here is, generally speaking, when you use the panel side of Microsoft Copilot embedded in the applications, it's usually about what you're working on. So I could ask a question is, tell me about this document. Tell me, does it include this? Is there anything said about this? How many words? You know, all that kind of stuff. It's about what we're working on. It's not necessarily the thing that's going to act on, you know, what we're working on. Instead, the prompt right here, and if you put your cursor later on, you'll see a prompt on the side here as well. So what I would do is I'm going to paste my prompt, my question to Copilot over here, all right? And then I'm just going to hit go, and we're going to see what it does. So I do this all the time. I would bet you we're going to get a 3 or 4 page document based on the verbose descriptions that I gave it, okay? And I could go further and tell it to do this and do that. One of the things I always tell people is never trust an AI completely. I always say trust but verify. You don't know if this document says what you want it to say. You don't know if it's going against the culture or the policies of your organization. You just don't know. So you need to review. You need to not take this verbatim and go with it. This is not a final product. I always say anything created with an AI, I don't care if it's Microsoft 365 Copilot or not, it is a draft for you to review, a soup starter, if you will. Okay. Now, this generated a 3-page document, and down here at the bottom, I can say keep it, I can say do it again, all right, because I don't like it, and I can review it if I want to, or I can say trash it completely, or I could say make it more formal, make it, you know, more longer, include a section about blah, 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 blah. But we're going to go ahead and just take it as is. And here is my 3-page document. I didn't want that yet. Okay, here's my 3-page document on that healthy food alternatives for seniors program that I'm going to recommend to our executive board, right? That we do. So again, how long would it take you to come up with the formatting, the ideas and the concepts and so on and so forth? A long time. Now, where's it getting this data? Well, it's pulling it from the documents that you have at your discretion in your Microsoft 365. But where you see this world down here, this is where it's allowed to go out to the internet and pull information back and help with that. So it's a combination of what you've done in the past and what it knows about you and the data that you have accessible to you on your Microsoft 365, and a combination of resources that it finds out on the internet to help with that cause. So I think it's a really good example. Now, what I'm going to show you now is how we can go a little bit further. So you see, I want to add a table of past results, okay? And so I don't actually have that table of past results that I want to include, but what I'm going to do is down here, success measure tracking. It sounds like to me, it would probably go into a section right like this, okay? And I just click this button right here, draft with Copilot. And I'm going to say enter a table of the past results for the last 5 years. Now, it won't be real data, but it'll be a nice table that I can work with to analyze and make it what I want it to be. Again, I'm going to say keep it. So that's the type of thing that you can do with Microsoft Word to actually, create programs and efforts and stuff like that for your nonprofit application. Debbie, happy for a question anytime you got one?
Nope, not yet.
Actually, people, ask questions. This is your session. I want to make sure that we get those questions answered for you. Now, I'm not going to save that. I'm going to pop over here and say, okay, well, this wasn't a good for program managers and grant writers, right? And so if you wanted to draft a grant, it could do that for you. If you wanted to draft a grant based on other grants and things like that, you can do that. Well, now I want to create a presentation from that file. Now, I didn't save it. I have that presentation. I have that file, a version of that file saved. It's much faster this way. So open up my PowerPoint, and in my PowerPoint, I'm presented with create a presentation from Copilot or a blank presentation. Well, let's go do this. I like this. This is a new thing that they've added, and I really like it. So create a presentation about, and I'm going to reference this file that is, let's see, 2025-03, and let's see here, -27. Let's see if I can find it here. Prompts Healthy Food Alternatives for Seniors is a document that I saved and we're using here. And so now I'm saying create a presentation about that document because I want to present it in pretty format, but I've also got a document to hand people. And because we've got a designer built into that, I can grab a design and say, you know what, I kind of want it to look like this. Won't always exactly be like that. It's subject to the materials as well. And we're going to go hit that go button. By the way, if there was more things I wanted to reference, one second. If there's more things I wanted to reference, I would click this button and I would be able to reference files that are here or on my OneDrive. Go ahead, Debbie, before I hit this.
Can we teach or set default branding? And how do you train Copilot to assist your style?
Yes, absolutely. You can absolutely set branding and it will follow the branding if you tell it to follow the branding. Absolutely. So that's not what we're talking about today. I can't really show that to you, but that is absolutely possible. I do it regularly. So I'm going to go ahead and create this slide deck. Any other questions while we're doing that, Deb?
Yeah. How do you train Copilot to assist in your style?
It just learns, actually. And so what I've done, and so I told you we sold our company, Splicing is now Vallejo, part of Vallejo Networks. I had a whole Copilot set up that actually learned a lot about me. I literally went to Copilot, the application, by the way, and I'll show that to you in a moment. I went to Copilot, the application, and said, we've learned so much about each other. I'm moving into another Microsoft 365 with another Copilot license. How can I transfer all the knowledge and information that you gathered for me to the other Copilot so I don't have to start all over? And it said, here, I'll make a file for you. Just tell the other Copilot. It literally said that kind of thing. It talked to me like that. And so I was able to do that and I didn't have to lose. It learns about you as you go. And it learns about the organization by the data that it crawls. Good question. I like that. Let me keep going on this. So here I am. I've got the slide deck. It's going to make estimated about 22 slides. We're going to generate the slides. By the way, in that slide, in that what's called the slide view, okay, I could have added, I could have edited, I could have done other things, but I want to do it in the actual presentation after it generates it for you. Now, it goes really fast. I mean, think about it. It's generating an entire slide deck in a matter of moments for you that you don't have to think about. You don't have to think about the format. You don't have to think about how it's logically broken up. You don't have to think about it. And what's really cool about this is because it was in our document, it's coming with information that is relevant information and very important information. It can go out to the web too if you want, all right? But it is definitely going to meet the requirements of what's in that document, but then some. So again, trust it a little bit more, but verify, verify, verify. We're going to keep this guy and we're going to preview this one. All right. And look at that. Nice little slide deck. And I don't really like the colors and stuff like that. You can change that with what's called the designers. Okay. Right here. But I can say, hey, I'm going to ask Copilot a question about this document. Okay. I'm going to come over here. And I want to, does this have a graph of results? Now, remember, I told you this is asking, generally speaking, about that, or maybe doing research for it, right? So I'm asking a question, does it have a graph of results from, I should have said from prior years, right? It may or may not. Ask whether, here's what I found. It does include something on 21 showing you no graph or charts in the representation. Let's go to 21, and look at that. Okay, meal served over the last 5 years. Great, it's already got it in there, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to try something off the cuff, add a slide about slide 21 with a chart. This may or may not work, representing the data on slide. Sometimes you got to play with it. You know, sometimes you get the result what you want right away. So something went wrong. Let's try it again. Okay, so it doesn't like that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a new slide, duplicate, and do a new slide. Okay, and I'm going to say, in here, add a topic. Let's see if it'll do it for me. Sometimes it takes some tricks to learn how to do it, and I'm doing it off the cuffs. Somebody said something about how did it get the graphics? It uses graphical libraries and generates AI libraries as well. And so maybe a little bit more than I want, you know, and maybe not the result. But again, I'm going off script, so I'm just kind of making it up as I go along for you. So, but you can do all kinds of things like insert a slide about something else. All right. And it already did this. So let's go move over to Excel. Debbie, hold questions because we only have 9 minutes and I still got a few things to do.
Okay.
So I'm going to pop over into Excel. All right. What I'm going to do in Excel, let me see, is this analysis I hear. Okay. And I'm going to tell Copilot to create a graph of the data. So I'm going to go now. When you use this Copilot in Excel, it's a little bit different than most places. This is actually asking and acting on the data, on the document. Okay, create a graph of the data. And so what it's going to do, it's going to create a graph of the data. Microsoft 365 Copilot, to answer the question, is not included in any Microsoft 365 plan. It is a separate purchase completely. And you have to buy it to get access to the functions that I'm showing you. It will not do what you want it to do without purchasing it. It is not free. And it's about $25, $26 per user per month. Okay. So it did that graph, and I can say insert it into a new sheet. There's that graph right there. Okay. But you know what? That's not exactly what I really wanted. I really wanted this one instead. Okay. Make a yearly bar chart. All right. So I'm using some examples that I can show you. I'm going to skip the other examples for the sake of time. And I'm going to go, while it's doing that, in column C, you'll like this. Do a calculation for me. So it's not done making that one yet. So let's let it get it. Okay. And there it is. And we'll add that to a new sheet when it's finished. Come on, finish up. Make a new sheet. And there's another bar chart. Now, most importantly, on this sheet, I want to enter in column C a percent year-over-year growth. And so what I'm going to do is tell it exactly what I want to do. I'm not thinking about the calculation. All I'm thinking about is where I want it and what I want. And so I'm putting it in a natural language where I don't have to calculate it, and it's going to do it. It did it earlier for me. So, and it's going to actually come back and give me those results. Then I can just say, put it right there on that spreadsheet. You want to do pivot tables, you want to do deep analysis, you know, all that stuff, no problem. It can actually download and do it with Python if it cannot do it for you. So there's your year-over-year growth. Got it. So that's an example of what we do in Excel. Now I have a meeting that Debbie and I did some time ago in my Microsoft Teams. Okay. This is the meeting. It was a spring fundraiser meeting that Debbie and I faked. Thanks, Debbie, for faking it with me. But I need some information out of it. So I'm going to open it up and I'm going to go in and review my recap on it. It's a couple of windows. There's other ways to do it, but I just want you to see. Notice this Copilot button right here. You saw it some other places before. I'm going to ask it, summarize this meeting for me. I've done it a few times, so that's what you're seeing before. So what it's doing here is it's summarizing that meeting for me, and we'll look at that when it's done. And so here's what you guys talked about, discuss fundraising ideas, blah, Easter egg hunt, event planning, and so on and so forth. While it's doing that, I'm going to pop over here and I'm going to say, let's see, what are the important items I could ask it that? What should our next actions be and what are the deadlines, right? Okay, instead, I'm going to do something fancy. Make a doc, formatted doc with this info for our executive director. So you see how it helps me so I don't forget things in my meetings. The only prerequisite is that you record the meeting and that you have Microsoft 365 Copilot, and then you can do this kind of stuff. And so I'm going to make a document because you know what? I want to take this to people and I want them to look at it, or I want to email it, or so on and so forth. And so all I have to do is, come on, finish up, next steps, all AI efforts. Okay, and I open that document in Word, bring it over here, and there's that nice formatted document ready to be sent to whoever you want to send it to. Okay, so, a couple examples there, pop back over to Word, look at our last thing. I think this is really cool, okay? And so I'm going to tell it that I want to create a brainstorming, let's see here, a brainstorming session about this and ensure it's written so everybody knows their responsibilities. And so maybe it's a summary with, okay, action items and so on and so forth. So it's actually creating that document for me. Or I could say create an email. I could say create a PowerPoint, and it will do that for me in here. I could also use Microsoft Word or Microsoft Outlook to reference this meeting. So you can reference in most places files, all kinds of file types, PDFs included, meetings, people, or there's another one as well. There's lots of things you can reference, and it will refer back to that stuff in your Microsoft 365 that you have access to. By the way, if you don't have access to it, as you use it, it doesn't have access to it either. So there's that. There's that document. It's a brainstorming summary document for that because we did that meeting. All right. Questions, Debbie, while I got just a moment?
Yes.
Go.
Let me go back here. Is it generating the photo content in the deck? This is when you were doing the photo, or is it pulling something from like a public domain repository?
Microsoft's got a public repository that it uses, and it's also creating it from AI, so it does not plagiarize. And it will tell you if you want to plagiarize, it might fail on you and say, sorry, and it will give you a variation of what you're trying to plagiarize.
Okay.
And also when it does, there's usually references where it came from.
How do you purchase and set up Copilot? Is it something that can be done internally, or do we need to hire someone to set it up?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second here. So let's hold that question. This is where I'm going to finish up, and then I'll go. I got 3 minutes to finish up. I'll finish this up, and then we'll go into Q&A afterwards. I usually spend as much time as people want to hang out, okay? Couple of things. If you want to use Microsoft 365 Copilot, Microsoft put together this awesome resource. I love this resource. It is one of the most valuable resources that I've ever seen. And so what I will do is show it to you real quick. I want to learn how to use Microsoft 365 Copilot. No problem. Let me find the link for it real quick. I have it in my stuff here. Okay. And it's a bunch of different types of prompts, really just to give you, oh, I didn't want you to do that. There you go. Bunch of different prompts to give you ideas on, Kickstarter draft, trial AI tools, pitch, maximizing your time, maybe some research, lots and lots of prompts for you to get ideas on how to use your Microsoft 365 Copilot. All right. So there's that if you want to learn about it. Now, a couple of things people are asking. Okay. How to get started with Microsoft 365 Copilot. I told you I'd come to it. First and foremost, if you didn't buy it, you don't have it. And I want to make sure that's clear. You say, no, I have it. No, you probably have Microsoft Copilot, which is the free version that Microsoft gives away. Will not do all the things that I showed you just now. Okay. Microsoft 365 Copilot is an additive license. You have to buy it separately to Microsoft 365 Business Premium, Microsoft 365 E3, or Microsoft 365 E5, as it shows right here. Those licenses are required for it to be added to. If you got a Microsoft Business Basic and it's the free license for nonprofits, you can't add it to that. Okay. I'll come to questions later. It is available as for Microsoft 365. This isn't the discount. Nonprofits get a discount. I want to say it's like I forget the exact number, like $26.50 a month or something like that. You guys get a nonprofit discount, and it is a subscription, annual paid monthly subscription. You can go monthly for it, but it costs more. But this is the subscription. How do you get it? Well, you can actually get a hold of me, okay, and I'll help you get it. It's not in your nonprofit portal. You won't find it there. It's usually something that has to be added a certain way, maybe in that store, or we actually help you with it. Now, to get started with it, people ask all the time, like we had the question, how do I get started with it? Well, candidly, AI is not something that people should just get and start using. I just don't think that's safe, right? I think what you should do is break it down and take a look at your security beforehand. So this is where I recommend setting up a meeting with me just to have a quick conversation. Let me talk to you about where it doesn't cost. Let me talk to you about, where you're at with things. I'm not a hardcore sales guy, right? I don't believe in that, but I'm going to advise you professionally on what you should do. Take it or leave it. It's okay. It doesn't matter to me. I want you to know professionally what I think you should do. And so I call it a test drive or a roadmap, whatever you want to do. I can show you some additional demonstrations, particularly for your organization. And all you have to do is either scan that QR code with your phone or just shoot me an email at jim@valeonetworks.com. It's that simple. And I will spend some one-on-one time up to 30 minutes helping you figure it out and letting you know what you need to go with. You don't know if you got it, if you're licensed for it, no problem. I'll help you. So that's what I've got. Debbie, let's get into our Q&A.
Okay. We have a client and organizational files and SharePoint libraries. We do not have a dedicated IT staff. We have a vendor that manages some things for us. Is there something we can do? Sorry, I keep getting pop-ups. Is there something we can do or need to do to get Copilot to access those files?
Okay, so every situation is different. I would say that if your documents are kept in Microsoft 365, okay, SharePoint or OneDrive, if your email is in Microsoft 365, if your meetings are held with Teams, okay, all of that stuff that's in Microsoft 365, if you get the license, your Microsoft 365 Copilot agent, if you will, has access to the stuff you have access to. Again, if your IT person doesn't have familiarity with Copilot, I would probably, refer to me first. Let's have that conversation. Let's see what it looks like from a security perspective. Let's lock down that security, because if you get hacked with Microsoft 365 Copilot, hackers can really exploit AI to get all kinds of information that would be unavailable to them otherwise. And it is like Pandora's box when it comes to that for hackers. So let's talk about the security. I hope that answers that question. Go ahead, Deb.
Was there a specific language used to create the command, or is it free form?
Free form, natural language.
Okay. And I think you kind of hit this. Is Copilot included in nonprofit business basic plan, or just the premium?
It's not that it's with it, okay? Microsoft 365 Copilot can only be added to that license, okay? So you can't add it to somebody that's got a business basic. You can only add it to somebody that's got business premium, E3 or E5. If they don't have it, if they don't have that license, like Exchange Online only, okay, you can't add a Microsoft 365 Copilot license to it. Those are the only ones you can add it to.
How do you purchase and set up Copilot? Is it something that can be done internally, or do we need to hire someone to set it up?
I recommend talking to me and coming to an answer on that. I can help you figure that out. I'll scare you to death, because it's one of those things that without a doubt, you should probably consider having a professional do it. It's not that Copilot is really hard to implement. It's actually pretty easy to implement. It's the work that you should do about security, making sure the data loss prevention is enabled, things like that, making sure that, everybody has the right security before we use an AI. I don't care what AI that is. That should be something that should be considered for every organization before any AI is actually implemented, especially Microsoft 365 Copilot. So get time with me. Send me an email.
Okay. Are there copyright images that they use, or that is one of the things that I need to check on, copyright free?
Yeah. If Microsoft 365 Copilot returns it to you, you can use it. It's a license from Microsoft to use that information.
Microsoft 365 Copilot is included in the nonprofit business plan.
No, it's not. Microsoft Copilot will not, and that will not do the things that I just did. If it doesn't have, it's Microsoft 365 Copilot that will do everything I just showed you, and that is a paid subscription, whereas the Microsoft Copilot is free and it's included. It won't do all the things I just showed you.
How can we ensure that Copilot is locked down to our company only?
See that email address right there? Email me and we'll talk about it. That's why I suggest have that consult with me. Talk to me about it, right? Let's make sure that it's not easily accessible to hackers. Good question.
Okay. Is creating the images an AI uses DAW E3 supposedly?
You know
I'm
what?
not sure
I
what
don't have
this
the answer to
means.
that question. What I will do is we'll take that question back and we'll answer that in a separate video for everyone later on. We'll put it on LinkedIn.
Okay. You have Microsoft Copilot, which is not the same as Microsoft 365 Copilot, correct?
No, I have Microsoft 365 Copilot, okay, which is an overriding subscription for Microsoft Copilot. The Microsoft Copilot's free, but I have the paid version of Microsoft 365 Copilot. You can only do the stuff I just showed you with Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Okay. How do you link documents when working in Word and Excel?
Yeah. So you use the forward slash. That is what it tells. That's what allows you to look up another piece of information in your Microsoft 365 is that forward slash. It says grab a resource from outside, or sometimes you can use the plus sign. There's other lookup buttons too.
Okay. I only have the MSFF 365 nonprofit license plan for $3 per user per month, and I have access to Microsoft 365 Copilot with most of the functions that you were demonstrating.
Most is the key right there. You've got the free Copilot version.
If you purchase Office 365 Copilot, do you need to change any permissions in the Office 365 portal to secure it, limit access?
Yeah, I recommend having a professional with Microsoft 365 security do that. That's why I say have a meeting with me, because again, implementing Microsoft 365 Copilot is not a challenge. It's not the hard part. The hard part is securing the Microsoft 365. So if you get broken into, hackers can't have their way with all your data.
Okay. When using Copilot with Teams, would there be a need to transcript from the meeting?
No, if you
Via
record,
transcript.
that's what it does. It transcribes it at the same time, and that's what Microsoft 365 is drawing. Microsoft 365 Copilot is drawing on is that transcript.
Okay.
So you just record. That's all you got to do.
Okay. Can you use Copilot to create workflows in Microsoft Power Automate?
Ooh, I like the way somebody's thinking here. Yes, the answer is yes. It depends on what you want to do. There is a Copilot for Power Automate, but with your Microsoft 365 Copilot, it does work with your Power Automate to a degree. If you want to do a lot of in-depth workflows, you're probably going to look at the one for Power Automate.
Okay.
Get with a meeting with me because I like to talk about that stuff.
You're getting a lot of thanks for covering so much. Thank you. Super helpful session. I'm in Canada and we pay CAD $20.58 per license monthly with the nonprofit discount.
What was it? Say it again one more time.
She's in
I'm in Canada,
Canada.
$20
Yeah.
monthly. What's the license?
Yeah. She didn't say, she just said, well, CAD.
Yeah, it's Canadian dollars.
Okay, $20.58 per license monthly with the nonprofit discount.
Okay, I don't know what we're paying for in particular. So, and I'm not really sure about the question. So shoot me an email and we'll see if we can handle that.
Okay. Does Copilot 365 give you access to Copilot Studio?
Ah, very good question. So technically, yes. But Microsoft 365 Copilot Studio is a pay-as-you-go subscription. And if you have Microsoft 365 Copilot, the work you do in your Microsoft 365 Studio, Microsoft 365 Copilot Studio, doesn't cost for the answers. Building in Copilot Studio doesn't cost. It's the use of the agent that Copilot Studio performs okay, the agent that you use, that you assign it to people, those people can have Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot or not. For the ones that don't have Microsoft 365 Copilot, it's a penny per message. But if you do have Microsoft 365 Copilot, it doesn't cost at all. I know that's complicated. You need to get a meeting with me to talk about this one.
Do you have to store the documents in the cloud, or does it work on desktop?
No, if you have a file server, if you have Dropbox, if you have Google Drive, it won't work with those repositories. It will only work with the data that is in your Microsoft 365 SharePoint or OneDrive. That's it. And your email and all the other stuff. But it's got to be in Microsoft 365. And if that's not where you're at and you want to get there, that's where we set up a meeting. We'll talk about it.
I know you said the information is secure and not sending out to the internet. I noticed towards the beginning a slider at the bottom right that said something about send out to internet.
Yes. Yes.
So due to HIPAA concerns, is it accessing the internet?
It is accessing the internet, but what you must understand is it's not sending your query out to the internet. So Microsoft has got something called an orchestrator, and that orchestrator is taking that information and making sure that the secure stuff is not being put out on the internet to answer a question. Instead, the orchestrator is asking the question to the internet resources. It's like its own search engine, okay, and pulling that back, and that is your orchestrator, so that your data isn't exfiltrated to the internet, like using like a ChatGPT where you actually upload a file. Doesn't work like that at all. Everything is secure, whether it's a file or just a question. It doesn't go out to the internet, but it can utilize the internet as a resource, and that's what that slider does. I don't want you to use the internet as a resource. I do want you to use the internet as a resource. The reason you would do that is because do I want the outcome of what I'm asking to be influenced by internet stuff, or do I only want it to be influenced by my work products that I have access to? Again, it will not send it out to the internet. That's what the orchestrator does. It keeps that secure information from going out to the internet.
Okay. Does Copilot work with Zoom?
No. And I'm sure they're probably building an agent for it. So one other reason to consider not using Zoom. And if you have Microsoft 365, you have Microsoft Teams, and you can do these kind of meetings, and you can ultimately record the meetings. And if you have Microsoft 365 Copilot, the recordings of the meetings and the transcripts can be used to draw and ask questions on. But if you don't have Microsoft 365 Copilot, you should still be using Teams and dump the Zoom because it's included. It's free. And those recordings are kept in your Microsoft 365 versus somewhere else.
Okay. Using Copilot on Microsoft 365 E3, but no Copilot licenses, features like SharePoint integration and the meeting recap aren't available. Does it make financial and governance sense to build an internal closed Copilot style agent to replicate key capabilities?
You know what? I think I understand the question. If you want to use Studio to build an agent, okay, that Studio agent can then be published to anybody you want in your organization. They don't have to have Microsoft 365 Copilot. But keep in mind when they use it, if they don't have that license, okay, I would say that it's going to cost them a penny per transaction, a question and an answer, okay? That's called a message. And so that can build up over time if your people are really relying on it. And so at a certain point, you have to realize, is it cost effective to give these users Microsoft 365 Copilot because theirs are not building up an additional charge to use that agent that was built? And so every organization is different.
When will this recording be ready to view for us?
I think we give out invitations like the next few days, if I'm not mistaken.
As always, great job, Jim. Is there
who's that?
Let me see. Larry Price.
As always. Larry,
okay. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Is there a demo to try to sell this to my supervisors?
You know what? I would not recommend a demo. The worst thing people do is demo software because it just goes like, I can't figure this out. I will do a demo to your supervisors. I will do a demonstration for your organization. I usually do it, get with me and let's talk about it. I don't do it. I don't charge for it. I mean, I'm trying to sell something. Let's face it, right? But set up a meeting with me and let's have that conversation and see if it's something that either you'll want me to do or you'll want to do yourself. We can definitely have that conversation.
Is your query history saved forever when you ask Copilot chat for help?
Yeah, well, it's just like anything else. I mean, in your IT, safe is what I call a subjective word, right? your IT organization could report on it potentially. And if it's not there, it will probably come. Your history is always kept unless you clear your history of your conversations with it. And I never do because I love it. I love going back, but it's secure from the internet. I can tell you that much. And it's secure from your coworkers too. You can't see each other's stuff in Copilot.
Okay. Microsoft says that they are not training models on enterprise user data. Do you know if the OpenAI models that they're using are gapped from OpenAI? My worry is that the bills like the AI framework and Sandbox Sandbox Act would give OpenAI the leeway to quietly ignore their obligations where Microsoft likely would not.
So here's what I'd say. There are hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of people working on making sure that Microsoft 365 Copilot is secure and is stable and is specific for your organization. I don't know the answer to that. I can't give an answer on that one, right? But I can tell you it's gapped from anything that is going to make it insecure, or it's also or maybe disable it. So if you really want to get deeper into that, what I would do is recommend getting a meeting with me. I'm not that guy necessarily, so I'll probably get a Copilot pre-sales specialist from Microsoft to talk to you about that with us.
Follow up to Luann's question, can the IT department audit prompts for data and security purposes?
You know what? I don't know an absolute yes to this, okay? It's sad because I have never investigated that. I've never really considered it before actually today. I would say that it would make sense to me. Now, this is just logic. This is an educated guess that they could, right? Just like they could read your email, just like they can look at your documents, okay? From an administrative perspective, there's probably a nice firewall or air gap, to use that phrase again, to keep them from doing it just willy-nilly. But I would suspect that it's possible. I'm going to put what I'll do is I'll get a formal answer on that, and I will report it on a LinkedIn post.
Okay, that's it. Other than the thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim. Ryan,
that's it. Everybody, if this was valuable to you, thank you, Debbie. If this was valuable, give me a thumbs up, a reaction of some kind, clapping of the hands. I like feedback, any reaction that you would like. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. And so I'm a very small woman. You're welcome. Everybody, you're welcome. I do this for you. Like I said, I've helped over 300 nonprofits last year, and that's the number that just keeps on growing. I want to help your organization. If you have any questions, don't go about this yourself. Email me at jim@valeonetworks.com, okay? Take a screenshot of this. Take a picture of this with your phone right now. Grab your phone. Take a picture of it so you've got that information. So when you're ready, your organization's ready, you can reach out to me. My job is sales. My job is to meet with people. And if it goes somewhere, great. If it doesn't go anywhere, great. That's fine, okay? But my job is to help you understand stuff. So please, please, please shoot me an email. I'm happy to help. And we'll stay on here for any lingering questions, but otherwise, you guys can pop off and have a great day. Thanks for joining. There they go. Debbie, are there any other questions while people hop off?
No, that's it. They're just saying you're a very good teacher. Thank you. They give you hearts over here.
You're welcome, Paul. Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot to me that you guys appreciate it. Go for it.
There is something here from John Harris that says, I am a very small alumni. Is it worth talking to me?
Shoot me an email. I'll answer some questions for you. Yeah, talk to me. We might not be able to do business, but I can talk to you. Absolutely. Hope that answers that.
I always enjoy meetings with you. Aw.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, everyone. All right. If there's nothing else, we'll cover them. Hold on. Can we let's see here. Oh, thank you so much, Shada. Oh, it's Shada. Hi, Shada. She's with Vallejo. I appreciate that. Mark, Anna, everybody, thank you so much. Paul, I really appreciate it. Suzanne. Oh, I love the happy face with the hearts. Candace, really appreciate it, everybody. All right, everyone, we're going to end this and go back to work. And sorry that you got to go back to work, but thank you so much. Talk to you here soon.